This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, May the 15th, is a former NFL quarterback who had legal issues after his playing career. And he was supposed to be this big guy who was drafted second overall in the NFL draft, and then somehow, in some way, due to poor play, bad behavior, injuries, and struggles with work ethic, he just went downhill. He played for San Diego, Dallas, Tampa, and Seattle in the NFL. I'm talking about the great, or not so great, Ryan Leaf. Ryan Leaf was born May 15, 1976, in Grand Falls, Montana, and he's 48 years old. After leading his team to the state title in 92, he was told that his build and athleticism was good for a tight end. Maybe a linebacker by the University of Miami Stairs, Erickson. But he decided to be a quarterback for Washington State after Mike Price, the head coach, said that we can go to the Rose Bowl and all that. So after all that, Ryan Leaf decided to accept the offer and head to Washington State and get them to the Rose Bowl, even though they had never been there since 1931. In his 32 games with Washington State, he was decent. In his junior year, he averaged over 330 passing yards per game and threw for 33 touchdowns, which was a Pac-10 record at the time. That helped him get Washington State the Pac-10 championship and a trip to the Rose Bowl in '98. So he was right. Well, the coach was right. That Ryan Leaf was due to play in the Rose Bowl. It was a close game between Washington State and Michigan in the '98 Rose Bowl. But unfortunately, the Wolverines are your champions by a score of 21-16. And Washington State did not play ball possession that well. Lee was a finalist in balloting for the Heisman Trophy and took third behind Charles Woodson and Peyton Manning. Still, he was the Pac-10 Offensive Player of the Year, and Leaf decided to forego his senior year at Washington State and enter the '98 draft, where people think that he was going to do quite well for himself. After the Rose Bowl helps him out, all that. It was a weird thing and all that. A lot of people said Manning and Leaf were going to be 1-2 and all that. Who should be drafted first? Many people actually favored Leaf's stronger arm and greater potential, but they said Peyton was the more mature player and safer pick. All that. The Colts had the #1 pick. Team scouts favored Leaf, but Colts president Bill Polian preferred Manning. And all that. Unfortunately, the interview process Peyton stuck it, whereas Leaf did not. Leaf unfortunately gained 20 pounds, and it was not really the best thing around. So, anyway, the Chargers had the 3rd pick, and they needed a new quarterback fast. Stan Humphries just wasn't meant to be, so they decided to pick up the second pick from Arizona to move up to get a quarterback. Whoever Manning or Leaf was drafted first overall, the Chargers were due to get him. So the Chargers traded their 3rd pick, a future first-round pick, a second-round pick, and 3-time Pro Bowler Eric Metcalf to Arizona for that pick. Anyway, the Colts went with Peyton Manning first overall. Ryan Leaf had fallen into the lap of the Chargers, 2nd overall. Anyway, the Chargers would actually rude to regret it, in a sense. Anyway, Leaf says, I'm looking forward to a 15-year career, a couple of trips to Super Bowl and parade through downtown San Diego. Unfortunately, Leaf flew to Las Vegas the night after the draft, so that was kind of a bad idea. San Diego had high hopes for Leaf. He skipped the final day of a symposium mandatory for all draftees. Nevertheless, Leaf was 2-0 as a starter. They beat the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Oilers. So Leaf technically looked good. He was 2-0. Peyton Manning wasn't doing so well. Unfortunately, 3 days before the Chargers were faced the Chiefs, Leaf had a viral infection which he attributed to an improperly cleaned artificial turf burn. He would start the game, but only went 1 for 15 passing for 4 yards, 2 interceptions, and fumbled 4 times. Anyway, the next day, a San Diego reporter by the name of Jake Posner was trying to interview him, and Leaf got angry and all that, saying, "Don't talk to me, all right? Knock it off." Bleep, bleep. He did apologize for the incident, but as soon as he read his apology, he crumpled it up and put it in his locker. Leaf had been terrible. In week 4, after throwing 4 interceptions in the first half, Craig Williams was made to be the quarterback. It would be Leaf versus Manning the next week, and the Colts won 17-12, but both quarterbacks struggled in a sense. Unfortunately, a 4 for 15 performance November 8th meant he lost his starting job to Willihan. In 10 games, he threw over 1,289 passing yards, only 1,289, and a 45% completion percentage. 2 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Unbelievable. He could only throw 2 touchdown passes in his first year. Leaf was not happy towards the media and his teammates, and had a poor work ethic and all that. So it was nightmare and all that. Anyway, the defensive veterans wanted management to sign a veteran quarterback and all that. Anyway, Leaf suffered an injury to his throwing shoulder 20 minutes into the training camp workout, July 99. A month later, a fan heckled Leaf by singing Lonesome Loser by the Little River Band and compared him to Heath Schuler. Leaf wanted to confront the fan, but the employee said, "No, don't do it, Ryan, don't do it." Regardless of that, he had to have a labral tear fixed in his shoulder, and he was out for the 99 season. So, anyway, he was suspended for getting mad at Bobby Bradhart, a coach. Regardless, Leaf was actually on the cover of Sports Illustrated September 2000 with the headline "Back from the Brink." It said, "From Pariah to Startup Pro Passer." But the first 2 games of the 2000 season were disaster. 1 touchdown and 5 interceptions. All that. Moses Moreno was going to come in for the Chargers in week 3, but got injured, so Leaf started. And then, of course, Leaf suffered a spring rust that cost him the missed 5 games and all of that. And he speculated that Chargers would release him and all that. So, anyway, the Chargers started at 0-11, which was awful, but they did beat the Kansas City Chiefs on November 26th. Leaf would do poorly and all that. For the 2000 season, he completed 50% of his passes for 1,883 yards, 11 touchdowns, 18 interceptions. A little bit better than his 98 times, especially with touchdowns. He threw 11. Unfortunately, though, the Chargers were 1-15. They were not doing so well, and they decided to cut their losses by releasing Leaf. In 3 seasons, he only won 4 games as a starter, throwing 13 touchdowns, 33 interceptions. All without loss. San Diego managed to finagle themselves LaDainian Tomlinson in a trade with the Falcons. So, yeah, they traded the number 1 pick to Atlanta for the right to draft LaDainian Tomlinson, which worked. And the Falcons were happy because they got Michael Vick. Tampa decided to claim him after the Chargers released him and decided to follow him more slowly. All that. Leaf's wrist was not healed. So he was told to accept a motion to the 4th quarterback on the team. He refused to do that. And then 5 days before the 2001 season, he was gone. So he couldn't play for Tampa. Dallas signed him at first, a couple days after he got released from Tampa. But he failed the physical. Dallas were desperate, though, too, because Quincy Carter suffered an injury. The Cowboys signed Leaf in October. But he only appeared in 4 games, all losses, throwing 494 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. Seattle decided to sign him to a 1-year deal to allow his still injured wrist time to heal. He seemed upbeat and all that. But he abruptly retired at age 26, which was a shock. During his brief career, he appeared in 25 games and made 21 starts. 3,600 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 36 interceptions, and a quarterback rating of 50. A lot of people said that, he took the money and ran. And ESPN instantly put Ryan Leaf on the list of biggest sports flops. Between 1979 and 2004, their first 25 years of existence of ESPN, and he was number 1, all that. A lot of people said he was big bust and all that. NFL Network listed Leaf as the number 1 quarterback bust of all time, saying that the only thing good was that the Chargers were sucking so badly they got to drop LT, Drew Brees, and initially Philip Rivers. Anyway, he was a giant bust and all that. And, Ryan Leaf saw how Johnny Manziel was struggling similar to him. All that. Yeah, so anyway, he tried his best in a sense. After retiring from pro football, he returned to San Diego, became a financial consultant, and returned to Washington State for his studies and graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Humanities. He went to West Texas A&M to be a volunteer quarterbacks coach and all that. But unfortunately, in 2008, he was put on indefinite leave because of something to do with painkillers. So, anyway, it was just weird and all that. Leaf said he had an 8-year off and on opioid abuse and all that. Leaf published a book about the impossible journey for Washington State making the '98 Rose Bowl. He was a program ambassador for recovery community, staying sober for 6 years. He looked pretty good and all that. In 2019, he was hired by ESPN as an analyst for games. Anyway, Leaf actually married a Charger cheerleader in 2001. They separated in 2003 and divorced. However, he got engaged to a former Georgetown volleyball player and having 2 kids, a daughter and a son. His younger brother, Brady Leaf, was an Oregon Ducks quarterback from 2003 to 2006. He actually had a benign tumor from his brainstem surgically removed. And then 2012, Leaf attempted suicide and slit his wrists. which was bad. Unfortunately, though, his legal troubles were huge. In 2009, he was indicted on burglary and substance charges in Texas. Anyway, he pled guilty in 2010, sentenced to 10 years of probation. Unfortunately, in 2012, he would break the terms of his probation and all that. He was sentenced to 7 years in custody and all that. And he would be incarcerated by 2014. In September 2014, a Texas judge sentenced Leaf to 5 years imprisonment, giving time credit for time spent in Montana prison, all that. And then in December 2014, after being released from Montana prison, he was under supervision of a parole thing and all that. But still, Ryan Leaf has the beat goes on with Ryan Leaf, and don't you forget it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.